Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Surely appreciate everybody's support, and surely appreciate everybody reaching out over the last couple of weeks here. It has been not real fun, to be honest with you. Not something that I want to do any time of the year, but surely not something that I want to do during the habitat season. But Lord willing, we're back in action here, and we're back on the trail, and we've got some really good trips just ahead. Everybody's been real patient working through some stuff. What we had, guys, a couple weeks ago, went through the flu, and it's kind of part of the business, right? Try to keep yourself healthy, but you're dealing with a lot of different people around the country, and whether it was in hotels or whether in restaurants, whatever the case is, right? I'm interacting with a lot of people, so picked up the flu, got through that, and right after that, I started having a lot of tooth pain and trying to figure out what was going on. I actually was setting in my jaw, didn't have enough time to stop, didn't stop quick enough, and what happened is I ended up getting infection, not only in the tooth, but in my system, and yeah, it didn't turn out real well. Set me back here a little ways. Now, a couple of days from now, I'll have to go in and have jaw surgery, tooth surgery, extract that out, and I've got to do some stuff with the bone underneath that one tooth because it was left alone too long. So that surgery is coming up on Monday. So back on the road the end of the week is the plan. Sadly, and if you see me stopping here with the tooth, a little tender yet, and just wasn't in the mood, I guess you could say, to start talking and doing a bunch of these videos with that tooth hurting. So we're going to touch on this one, guys, here. Back in the studio today, and we're going to touch on new food plot openings. I've got a project going on just down the road here that I was really hoping to do more of, kind of that drone look, and to really bring you along through the Built by Whitetails TV segments that we do. We've got some really cool footage of what's been going on over there. They were actually C6 land clearing. Jared Kokenauer there was actually doing a bunch of mulching and stuff on the transition, and actually some new plots going in when I was on the road, and got back, and it really turned out good. We've got a lot more to do, but that project over there is something, guys, that I'll be able to showcase with you, show you more directly about how this works. What I'm doing, guys, is we're going to talk about building those food plots. I think it's pretty well known right now that I push the envelope, or I push that topic a lot, is don't just go in and take a God-given opening that's there and make it bigger if you think you need more food, and or just go out and every ridge on a property blow it into food, and more food is better. Actually, guys, to be honest with you, more food is worse when it comes to food plots. Can be, usually is. And the reason I say that, guys, it's not bad for deer, obviously, right? It's not bad for the health of the deer. It's not a bad way to attract deer, but it's a horrible way to try to hunt a property. When there's too much food plotting going on it, is you can't get in and off the property. I've always tell folks this, and I get kind of some mixed reactions, but I would rather have you see 0 food plot and be able to hunt the property than have 10%, right? This number that's always thrown around, 10% of your property into food plots, and you can't get on and off the farm without getting busted. So make sure, guys, it has to be a thought out plan. Put them where they need to be. Then figure out how big you can make them and still be able to get on and off the property. So let's talk about the debris and what we're going to do with this debris when it comes to that. There's a couple things that I see a lot of folks doing to try to steer deer, right, or to force them to come into food plots because of sitting over top of food plots and wanting to be able to manipulate where they go. I don't recommend a couple of things, guys. One, so let's just finish that topic. I don't recommend taking the brush piles and making a bunch of brush piles in the field and trying to, if let's say your blind is here, which I don't recommend, but let's say the blind is here and I see, you know, folks building these brush piles like this, and I see, you know, we're taking these brush piles and trying to focus, trying to funnel deer in, right? Don't recommend doing that. And the reason for that is, guys, is a lot of times when we're doing these food plots, right, we're not dealing with 10 acres, 5 acres, 10-acre chunks. We're dealing with quarter, half acre, 2-acre food plots. And that's a lot of space right there that you're giving up. And I don't recommend doing that, guys. For the reason I don't recommend that you sit on top of the food plots anyway. So that shouldn't be something that you're looking at doing. And just the simple fact, like I said, guys, is you're losing a lot of space by doing that. So it would shock you how much is underneath, how many square footage that you're actually losing underneath those brush piles. So the next situation is that I see a lot of folks doing is I see them, you know, putting it over here because the blind is here again, and we're putting all of this debris, and then we're leaving openings, and then we're putting a bunch of the piles out here, and we're focusing. So we're having these deer enter in here, and we're having them enter in here closer to within bow range. Don't recommend doing that either, is because what happens, guys, is the debris that you're collecting off these plots, you're excavating off these plots. What you're going to find is in a pile setting, right? What you're doing is you're creating predator habitat. So if you do that, this is what you're going to find. Deer are going to feed in daylight hours. Your deer are going to feed out in this location further away from the brush, because you can do this yourself. You walk past those brush piles and it's dark. There's dark pockets in there. The deer can't see into it. They don't know what's in there. It's great bobcat and great coyote den material, and they don't want to be around it. So not only are you wasting, again, a bunch of area here that they're not eating. Now, will they eat it at night? Probably. They'll creep up there a little bit closer to it. But you're not utilizing the plot, right? So there again, I don't recommend doing this, because on the back side of it, these does that we want bedded in here are not going to be right back up against the back of it until it settles down. It starts getting a bunch of dirt and they start decaying and it gets low. So it's not housing or potentially housing a bunch of predators. These does aren't going to be close to it. If it pushes the does back, how much property do you have? How much core do you have to actually give away, right? So don't recommend doing that either, guys. Best case is this, is if you can potentially, I'm sorry, put the all of the debris, take a log out of here. Let's say this is all treed. Take the logs out of here and put those tops into a bunch of piles around the in the plot out here, guys. Take the logs out and just leave the tops in, and then have a mulcher come in and mulch it. Most of the properties I'm on, the quality of the dirt is horrible, and you go through here and you mulch them tops. You're actually building that organic matter, and you just get rid of them in the field, and the top part of it, right, the treetop part of it is gone. So you cut the debris. You take the quantity of the debris and cut it in half, or possibly more, right? So this all goes away. What you're going to have to work, the only thing that you're going to have to worry about then, guys, is you're just looking at the stumpage, what to do with the stumps. So we know we don't want it in this here. As you can see, the transition doesn't come right into the food plot because that's slid back for huntability reasons that we teach. Unless it's a shot plot where it's coming directly into it. Most of the time, guys, if this is your access side past let's just use the blue here so it stands out. This is your access side down your property line to a stand location that's down here, let's say, right? This would be the stand location, bow stand, archery stand location. What you want to do is you want to take this debris, and you actually want this debris placed out here. So you want this wall of the debris right along your food plot, or just off the side of the food plot, enough to help screen, dead screen, not screening with vegetation that has any food in it, but we're taking this debris out of the plots and we're putting it here on your access side. Way cleaner, and it doesn't create the the potential predator trap side of it, guys. We're bringing it out here. We're bringing it away from them so they can feed into this location in daylight hours. We're not obstructing it. All it's doing is helping us get by a food plot. Maybe this is 50 yards, maybe this is 100 yards, maybe this is 20 yards, depending on the size of your property. Moral of the story is you have to be able to get by it. So that's where John's screening again comes in, or switchgrass comes in, is what I like to do. So two things here, guys, what I'm going to touch on. What I like to do is, after this debris is piled here, so if you don't mulch it, or if there is any debris left, right, you bring all that to the edge. What I like to do is maybe take it a little bit further off the plot than what you're potentially, so it doesn't take away from the total acreage of that. Slide it off there just a little bit, then come back in, and I like to put switch and or John's screening about 10 foot, 20 foot of that screening down through the edge right here. That way it's a natural vertical screen, not this whole predator dark hole trap look. And you put that screening of John's out here, and now you have all of this switch and or HD screening along the edge, and it looks real natural, and it kind of hides and makes your mess of the debris disappear. The next thing that I want to focus on with you guys is this. When you're doing this, if you are going to stump out the food plot, you're going to have a lot of, you potentially could have on an acre food plot, you could potentially have 30, 20, 30, 40 stumps, right? What do you do with the stumps? Obviously, this out here is where we want them. Just remember, guys, that what I like to do is I like to flare the stump away, the rootstock away from the food plot. So, in other words, if this is the edge of the, let's use green here. If this is the edge of the food plot right here, right? Your stump, let's just make this the food. What you're going to do, guys, is your stump is going to be out here, and the tree stump itself is going to be facing the plot, and your rootstock, when you lay it on the side, is going to be away from the plot. So the next one in here, you put the next one in here, you put the stump towards the plot, and maybe you could even can connect them, right? Touch them, put the rootstock here. Root ball away from the food plot, stump towards the food plot. What you're going to find is, guys, is by doing that, it's more of a 3D look, and the rootstock, that woolly rootstock, is away from the plot itself. The other situation, guys, is if you don't have a bunch of this debris here, over time, if you want to cut the firewood out of it, like I said, and you want to mulch the tops away so you don't have any of this at all, then what I'm doing is I'm coming in and I'm putting our triple row, our screening way of making our spruce, our conifers. Call up Brad Harper there at Harper Growing Solutions, or John Anderson down there out of Lansing, Michigan. One of those gentlemen can help you get those trees ordered. And we're doing this staggered rows of the 2 or 3 staggered rows of the spruce, and then you're making that natural screening that is going to be there for years to come. On the other side of that, guys, is you still are going to have a bunch of debris as far as stumps. Just make sure those stumps are placed in the right spots, away from your doe bedding. The whole moral of the story is, at the end of the day, is this, is to really make sure that it looks natural. It looks clean. It looks natural. You doesn't look like a bomb went off. It doesn't, the quicker that you can get it to that back to that natural state, guys, the sooner that your food plot and your bedding areas and the deer movement past those areas are going to benefit from that. So think ahead, have a game plan. Because of the excavation background, I don't like to move this stuff and put it in a spot once and then have to go back in and move it again. Right? I'm gonna when I put it somewhere, that's where I'm gonna put it, and that's where it's gonna stay. Not only the debris, but one of the things I see a lot of, and sadly, a lot of it is done by contractors that should know better. And sometimes it's by the landowner, but if you're hiring it out, be cautious with this. One of my biggest pet peeves in the world is, guys, is taking a dozer in and cleaning these spots out, and the next thing you know, they take all the debris and they pushing it from one end to the other. So let's say your debris piles end up here, and all of a sudden you go in and we get to these areas, and these food plots are stripped of the topsoil, and all your topsoil is down here mangled up in these tops and all of this brush, and there's no way to get it back on the food plots. What you'll see, I'll post a couple videos here, guys, is when I go in after logging, and when I do have a dozer and I am able to do some of this myself, or I'm doing it for my own properties, if I have to push any of that off, I'm bringing that back across. I start here and I push it to one end of the plot. I don't push it out in the trees so I can't get it. I push it out here far enough that I can get behind it, and I actually bring it back across the plot. So I'm taking the topsoil and the debris, and then I'm bringing the topsoil back across, and I'm picking the debris back out of it. And the reason for that, guys, is I want that topsoil to stay on those food plots. If you have any topsoil to begin with, a lot of plots don't have any, right? But you don't realize how long it takes to reclaim a food plot. Our channel is brought to you in part by these great partners: Painted Arrow Outdoors, Race Proven Performance, and C6 Land Clearing, Harrodsburg, Kentucky, Drone Deer Recovery, and Pruitt Productions, Cuddyback, Bass Pro and Cabela's, Ace Hardware, Harrodsburg, Kentucky, Northwoods Whitetails, your food plot headquarters, Plot Doctor and Harper Growing Solutions, Real Wood Productions, the log trough feeder, Scent Thief, Hunt Stand, and First Form Outdoors. If you strip the topsoil completely off, right, multiple times a year, I see that, and I see folks struggle, and thousands of dollars and years and years and years of waiting to build that organic matter and building topsoil back. Don't push it off. Don't push it into trees. Don't wad it up with your debris. Keep the topsoil separate. Keep it clean. Use a root rake, not a bucket, not a dozer. Really leave that there, and you'll be in business, that good vegetation there, that good topsoil there, and you'll be in business quicker, a lot quicker, when you finally get to the steps of planting those food plots, guys. Couple steps. A lot of things go into building those areas. Just remember, it's got to be in the right spot. What do you do with the debris? Don't put the debris on the doe bedding side. Don't make predator traps, and don't strip your topsoil off these areas, guys. Probably the 4 biggest points that I can touch on with you today.